Magandang gabi Pilipinas, makitulfo po ito maghatid sa inyo ng mga nagbabagang balita. Sa isang bira sa Tondo, Manila, napatay sa saksak ng lasing na lalaki ang nakatable niyang waitress dahil tumanggi daw ito sa pakikipagtalik sa kanya. Umaaksyon si April Davila.
Kwento ng nakakita, bago ito ay naglasing na ang sospek sa bar. Itinable niya ang waitress sa sisalonggo, pero tumanggi ito sa alok niyang makipagtalik.
Pinipilit siya na gagalawin. Pinipilit siya ipapasok sa kubita. Bawal naman po kasi galit na galit yung lalaki. Sabi, pagbaba niya, sabi niya, tara na, sama ka na sa akin sa hotel. Isabi po ni Ani, hindi pa ako sasama kasi bawal nga.
Nagdodroga ka po ba, kuya?
Sandal mo sana ang ulo.
Paano masabi?
Tinatanong ko nga po kung nagdodroga ka ba.
I-drug test mo na ako. Para malaman mo.
Kuya, so ano ba yung gustong klaseng gupit na gusto mo sa buhok mo?
Gusto ko kalbo. Kaso hindi marunong yung barbero magupit.
Good job!
Is this thing on? Word. So what, we get drunk. So what, we smoke weed. We're just having fun.
Good job!
Just then. Pero magupit.
Hindi marunong magupit? Magkano ba binayad mo?
Wala akong bayad yun. Kaibigan ko yun.
So kaibigan, so mabilis ang gupit lang.
Paano mo nasabi? Paano mo nasabing madilian yan? Nakatulog nga ako, sobrang tagal. Paano mo nasabing madilian lang yan?
Galit ka po ba?
Hindi po.
So gumagamit ka po ba, kuya?
Paano mo nasabi? I-drug-test nyo na kaya ako para malaman nyo. Hindi namin nakikita sa pangatawan ng tao. It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
Sige. Good luck, kuya. Patapos mo na yung pagpapagupit mo. Maraming salamat.
Walang problema yan, ma'am sir. Kahit ilang taon pa ako makulong. Kahit forever pa.
Sir, pa-fill up na lang po muna ako sa drug testing consent form nyo. And to clarify, paki-fill up na lang po yung nakamarkan check po dyan.
One eternity later.
Please proceed na lang po sa kabilang room po, sir. Thank you po.
Okay.
Hi po. Fill up na lang po ako ng CCF form. Answerin po natin yung mga checkan ko po dito. Ito po, ito, at saka ito. Pahingin na lang rin po ako, sir, ng valid ID. Yung government issued sana.
Okay, sir. Right after everything else. Pero wait lang. CCTS.
Hindi po yun pwede, sir. Meron po kayong LTO, driver's license.
7-Eleven. Linet. LTO.
Ayan. Salamat po. Pag na-answer na po, balik po kayo dito for the interview.
Much later.
Yes, sir. Okay na po ba? Sige po.
Tapos, sir. It's very madami.
Interview ko lang po kayo, sir. Ano po ating full name?
Robert Alitos Jr., sir. That's our service.
Ilang taon na po?
30 years old.
Saan po nakatira?
Live in Barangay Kalub. Di ba ko lang?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Contact number po.
Contact number? Ito na naman. 143.
At sino po ang ating employer?
Working at Adonis. Sa Adonis, sir.
Sige po sir, thank you. Meron po tayo dito biometric sir. Ilalagay po natin ating daliri dito. At pag sinabi ko pong okay na, tataas lang po natin at ililipat ang kabilang daliri. Sige po, palagay na lang po. Okay na po, sige po. Sige po, yung kabila naman. Sige sir.
One eternity later.
Dito nga pala sir, meron po tayong urine container. Pili lang po kayo kahit anong kulay at bubuksan po natin. Nakapili na po kayo sir.
Urine container. I choose you. Sir.
Ito po. Sige po. Buksan ko po, wala pong laman. At lalagyan po natin ang pangalan nyo. Tapos po pagdating po sa specimen collection area, pupunuin po natin ito hanggang sa dulo. Sige po sir, proceed po tayo doon. Sige po sir, diretso po tayo sa collection area.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Sir,
What are you doing?
check ko muna po yung mga bulsa niyo sir. Protocol lang po.
How you manyakin me?
Ay sir,
What?
kailangan ko po talaga mag-observe sir dahil po sa protocol natin. Pero dito lang naman po, kita ko naman po ang ginagawa niya po.
Okay. Never.
What?
What the f? No! God, please, no! 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 Damn!
Sir, tapos na po sir. Sige po, dito po tayo, morning po ako papirma sa inyo.
Okay.
Five minutes later. A few minutes later.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am. Pakicheck na lang po na information na nakalagay dito kung tama at pakipirmahan na lang po pagkatapos. Hello po sir, ito na po pala yung result ng drug test niyo.
Breaking news mga kababayan, inilabas ng mga pulis ang drug test result ng isang lalaki na sangkot sa isang krimen sa pagsaksak sa babaeng nakitable ito sa bar. Maaksyon, si April Davila.
Matapos ang isang masusing confirmatory test, inilabas na kanina ng mga pulis ang resulta ng drug test ng salarin na kinilala sa pangalang si Roberto Adictus Jr., kung saan nagpositibo ito sa paggamit ng droga nga shabu. Bakit niyo po sinaksak ang biktima, kuya?
Lasing po ako nun eh. Baka umiral po ang pagkademonyo na aking kamay. Gumalaw. Gumalaw.
Naharap sa kasong murder at paggamit ng illegal na droga ang salarin. Ito po si April Dumalaw, umaaksyon, MT News 5.
Hindi po. Ay, gusto po.
So what we go out, that's how it's supposed to be. Living young and wild and free.
What's up mga katusok? Hope you enjoyed our video on the drug testing process, and this is the last part of our presentation where we report to you the 3 different tests that are also part of the workflow. Specifically, the specimen validity test, the retest, and the challenge test. Let's go. Time to put on my reporting glasses.
Ikaw nga ba si Mr. Right? Ikaw nga ba love of my life? Ikaw nga ba ang icing sa ibabaw ng cupcake ko?
Oh my God! Wow!
First, we are going to talk about the specimen validity. If you turn to your screen, you can actually see here the objective, which is to determine the integrity of the specimen. We have 2 reasons on why we do this test, and that is first, suspicious. When the authorized specimen collector believes or observes that the specimen has been tampered with, then that's suspicious. Number 2, unobserved. There are certain circumstances where unobserved collection is permitted, so we have to do validity tests. These are the purpose of conducting validity tests, and that is to detect adulteration, dilution, and substitution. So what are these things? Let's delve deeper on that. On the next slide, we have here adulteration. So the definition of adulteration is when there is a constituent that is not normally found in the urine. So some examples are bleach, ammonia, table salt, vicine. But I want you to focus on the screen and see that there are 2 adulterants in this picture. First is the clear urine additive, and the second is the urine luck. These adulterants are synthetically made that can destroy certain metabolites in the urine that we analyze in the DTL. I would like to also discuss 2 types of adulteration while we're at it. First is the drug screen. So when we talk about drug screens, there's a mass or a chemical mass that interferes with a drug analysis. Some examples here are aspirin, niacin, and zinc sulfate. The second type of adulteration is doping the samples, wherein we spike the sample that will possibly interfere with the assay. So the golden question is this: how can we know if the sample is adulterated? We have to look at the certain parameters that we can know if our specimen has been tampered with. So for adulteration specifically, if we check the pH, and if the pH is less than 3 or greater than 11, then there's a good chance it might be adulterated. Next, if we check the nitrite and the nitrite count is greater than 500 micrograms per liter, then it might be adulterated. And lastly, if there are presence of endogenous or exogenous substances or oxidizing agents. Moving on, we have here our dilution. And in the screen, I would like you to first observe the one with the check. Then that urine sample looks good because it's within parameters where the color might be of a dark yellow or a light yellow. But on the left side, there's a urine sample that is colored bright green. And that is a bit weird or suspicious. Technically, dilution is when there is less than normal physiological substances. So the color might be diluted. So I would like to discuss two dilution techniques. And the first is the internal. And the internal dilution technique starts with the patient when they drink plenty of water or they take diuretics such as tea, coffee, laxatives, or even beer. That might dilute the sample. And the other dilution technique is the external dilution technique, where there's an addition of water to the specimen. How can we know if our sample is diluted? We have to check these two parameters, which is the specific gravity. If it's less than 1.003, then there's a good chance it is diluted because it's not within a normal range. Next, which is also a marker for dilution, is creatinine. If the creatinine levels are less than 1768 per micromole milliliter, then it might be diluted. Next, we have our substitution. From the word itself, it means replace. So to give you some examples for substitution is catheterization. So if there are patients that are catheterized, some people can get the catheterized urine and place it in their sample container. There are also concealed containers where it can hold fake urine or other people's urine, and it can be hidden in a part of their body. So it might be the pants or within a jacket or anywhere, as long as it's concealed. Next, we also have the injection into the bladder. Some people also use other liquids to pass as urine. So it can be juice, it can be tea, and there are other people which steal other people's urine. How do we know if the sample within the sample bottle is substituted with something else? We have three parameters. First is the specific gravity. If it's less than 1.003 or greater than 1.020, then it's probably not urine. Next, we have creatinine. If the creatinine levels are less than 442.0 micromole per liter, it might be substituted. Lastly, if the pH is less than 2 or greater than 9, because normal urine is just within that range, it might be substituted. Now let's move on to the parameters of validity testing. First is the color. Of course, the color should be either pale yellow, light yellow, dark yellow, amber. But if the color of the urine is of different color, next we have to check the appearance, which is supposed to be clear. If it's turbid or if there's anything at all inside it, then that's suspicious. The urine should be clear within the sample container. Next, we have odor. It should be aromatic, of course. Then we have our volume. So in our volume, we should always have 60 ml. But if you're using a split method, which you have two containers, it can be 30. Next, we have our temperature. So the temperature should be between 32 to 36 degrees Celsius, which is within body temperature. So there are labs where they can just only touch and they know it's warm, it's within those range. Next, we have our pH. It should be well within 4.0 or 9.0. Anything less or more might not be urine. And lastly, we have our specific gravity, which should be 1.003 and 1.030. If it's less, then it's diluted. After our validity test, we have to talk about the retest. The definition is on the screen. It is to replicate the test to check the initial test result of the same sample within the lab or referral system, provided that proper protocol is being followed. So these are the questions, or these are the objective of the retest. And I want you to remember this. The objective of the retest is for laboratory satisfaction. Who shall be present during the test? Of course, it's the analyst. And if he or she is absent, it can be the head of laboratory. Then in which lab can we do the retest? We have three options. The lab can choose to do it within the lab again. Also choose to go with another screening drug testing lab. or any confirmatory drug test lab. Now, these are the documents needed if they opt to choose for the second and third option. So you have to have the letter of request from the requesting party. You have to have the letter of acceptance from the second drug testing lab. We have to have the control and custody form of the retest for the retest. And we also have to have the copy of result in question, the copy of analytical procedure or protocol used by the first drug testing lab, including the result validation. And lastly, you have to have the laboratory request, or the laboratory receipt rather. But if the retest is being done in the same lab, then you don't need all those documents because it's already within that lab. For the analytical procedure, the lab can opt to choose the same screening method, or they can use a confirmatory method. Now, which specimen bottle shall be used? For a single collection, which is the most common here in the Philippines, we should use bottle A. Who shall pay for the test, or who shall bear the testing fee? We have to go back to the objective of the retest. And again, the objective is for lab satisfaction. If it's for lab satisfaction, then the laboratory or the requesting laboratory shall bear the testing fee. So how many times can the retest be done? That actually depends on the protocol of the laboratory. But we have to remember that we should leave some of the sample in case the client wants a challenge test. So who shall be present? Of course, the complainant or a representative of the complainant should be present. Then the analyst of the screening drug test lab in question, or if he or she is absent, then the head of laboratory can come. And the analyst of the confirmatory drug test lab in question, or if he or she is absent, then the head of lab is okay. The technical definition of challenge test is it is a replicate test conducted to the same sample when confirmatory results is being legally questioned. When we say legally questioned, so it's involved in a court case, the challenge test. The objective of this test is for client satisfaction and verification. How do we report the result or the reporting of the result? We have to confirm the presence of the drug or metabolite that was previously reported as positive. That is why we need a document such as the previous results and the validation, that we can compare it and see what went wrong, or if it's the same or if it's different. In which lab can this test be done? So actually there are three options to go around. First is the complainant can actually choose the venue. The second one is the court can appoint the venue of the confirmatory drug test lab, or they can also choose the National Reference Laboratory for Drug Testing, which is in East Avenue Medical Center. What are the documents needed is almost the same with the retest. So the letter of request, letter of acceptance, the CCF challenge form, copy of result in question, copy of analytical procedure or protocol used with the first DTL, including the result validation, and the laboratory receipt. Then you can also have the documents from the court order. So the analytical procedure being done in the challenge test is a DOH standard confirmatory analytical procedure. And which specimen bottle shall be used? So if the lab uses a single collection, then the remaining sample of bottle A should be used. But if it's a split collection method, then you have to go with bottle B that is unopened. So who shall bear the testing fee? We go back to the objectives of the test. Since it's for client satisfaction, it just goes to show that the complainant should bear the testing fee. And the reporting of result is always the same with the retest, which is to confirm the presence of the drug or metabolite that was previously reported as positive. And how many times can we do the challenge test? Only once. Take note that there's a waiver for both parties, that no one can complain after. And as a medical technologist, sometimes we have to take a stand in the witness stand and to report our findings. And I just want you guys to remember that we have to uphold our oath, to be truthful, to be honest, and to give out quality healthcare to all. And that ends our report. Thank you for staying with us, and if you like the video, leave a like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye mga katusok!